The morning sky was quiet, painted in soft blue when the first alien ship came down through the clouds. It did not roar like human jets. It did not shake the ground like rockets. Instead, it moved smooth and silent, as if the air itself made room for it. People on the streets froze. Cars stopped in the middle of the road. Children pointed at the shining silver craft as it hovered over the city park. For a moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. The ship opened slowly, like a flower blooming. A ramp stretched out, touching the grass. The crowd of humans, soldiers, reporters, and curious citizens all stared at the glowing light inside. Everyone had the same thought: this is it. The first contact. From the light stepped figures, tall, slim, and glowing faintly with strange colors that shifted across their skin. They were alien women, their faces sharp yet beautiful in a way that made humans whisper in awe. Their eyes shone like polished glass and their clothes shimmered as though made of liquid stars. They walked with grace, each step measured, each movement perfect. The air felt charged, as if something important, something dangerous was about to happen. The leader of the alien women stepped forward. She was taller than the rest, her hair flowing like silver smoke behind her. She raised her hands in peace. The humans waited. Cameras zoomed in. Soldiers tightened their grip on weapons. The world leaned forward, waiting for the first words of history. But no words came. Instead, the alien women suddenly did something shocking. As one, they reached to their strange clothing, pressed on hidden seams, and in one smooth motion, they flashed the entire crowd. The humans gasped. Some screamed. Others laughed nervously. A group of children clapped, thinking it was some kind of performance. The alien women stood tall, smiling proudly, waiting for the humans to do the same. To them, this was a greeting of honor, a way of saying, "We trust you. We welcome you." But to the humans, it was chaos. Reporters shouted. Soldiers exchanged confused looks. An officer's jaw dropped so wide his helmet almost slid off. A grandmother fainted on the grass. The alien women looked around, confused by the silence. Why were the humans not flashing back? Why did no one show respect? The alien leader tilted her head, frowning slightly. She stepped closer, her glowing eyes scanning the crowd. She raised her hands again and performed the gesture once more, slower this time, as if to teach them. The crowd reacted louder. Some men laughed. Others covered their children's eyes. The soldiers thought it was some kind of trick, maybe a distraction. Fingers touched triggers. The tension thickened. A human diplomat, an older man in a gray suit, pushed his way to the front. Sweat poured down his face. He had studied alien signals for years, but this he had never seen in any manual. His voice shook as he called out, "Please, everyone stay calm. This could be a cultural misunderstanding." The alien leader stared at him with hope. She repeated the gesture once more, her smile warm and inviting. The diplomat froze. If he copied her, he might insult the whole planet on live broadcast. If he refused, maybe the aliens would see it as an insult too. His hands trembled at his side. The cameras focused on him. The crowd held its breath. The soldiers raised their weapons, waiting for the order. The alien women leaned forward, curious, as if this single man's decision would decide peace or war. The diplomat took one step forward. He opened his mouth, searching for words. But before he could speak, a soldier behind him shouted, "They're mocking us! Look at what they're doing!" Panic rippled through the humans. People screamed and pushed backward. The aliens frowned, whispering to each other in their own strange language. The sound was like music played backward, sharp and beautiful but eerie. The leader of the alien women raised her hand quickly. The other aliens froze. She stepped forward, closer and closer to the human diplomat, her shining eyes fixed on him. The air grew heavy. Every second stretched like an eternity. The soldier behind the diplomat clicked off the safety of his rifle. The alien women noticed the weapon rise. Their eyes darkened. A low hum filled the air as faint energy shields shimmered around their bodies. The crowd fell into dead silence. Even the children stopped laughing. Everyone knew what could happen. One wrong move, one mistake, one misunderstanding, and this first meeting would end in blood. The diplomat swallowed hard. His heart pounded like a drum. He could hear his own breath. He knew that history was watching him. He knew that the world stood on the edge of peace and destruction. He raised his hand slowly, showing he carried no weapon. The alien leader mirrored him. Her glowing eyes softened, her silver hair shifting in the breeze. She leaned closer, only inches away, and whispered a single word in her language. The translator device on her belt crackled, trying to understand. It gave only one broken word in English. Hello? The humans froze. The aliens waited. Guns pointed at glowing shields. Cameras rolled. The entire planet leaned closer to their screens, and then a soldier's finger twitched on the trigger. The screen went black. The soldier's finger rested on the trigger, his eyes wide and his breath fast. For one terrible second it felt like the world might end. Then the diplomat raised his hand higher and shouted, "Stand down! Nobody fire!" His voice cracked with fear, but it was enough. The soldier froze. The crowd exhaled in shaky relief. The alien women stood very still. Their glowing eyes shifted from human to human, confused. To them, the flashing gesture had been simple, a sign of peace, trust, and respect. But instead of being greeted back, they had been met with laughter, shock, and guns. Their leader frowned. She whispered to her companions in their strange musical language. They whispered back, their voices rising with worry. The translator device on the alien leader's belt buzzed and clicked, trying to catch meaning. Broken words came out: respect, insult, family, war. The humans in the crowd gasped. Soldiers tightened their grip again. Reporters shouted questions, their microphones shaking in their hands. The world was watching live, and no one understood a thing. The alien leader tried again. She stepped forward and performed the flashing greeting one more time, but slower, gentler, almost pleading. She smiled as if to say, "Please understand us. Don't reject us." The diplomat's face turned red. He looked at the soldiers, then at the cameras, then back at the alien leader. His lips trembled. Should he copy the gesture? Should he try? If he did, people might laugh. If he didn't, war might break out. His knees almost gave way under the pressure. Then something unexpected happened. A young human in the crowd shouted, "Do it! Just do what they're doing." The people laughed nervously, but the diplomat felt the weight of millions of eyes. Sweat dripped down his forehead. Slowly, painfully, he raised his hands to mimic the strange alien greeting. The crowd gasped. Some covered their mouths. Others shouted in disbelief. Soldiers looked at each other, stunned. The aliens, however, lit up with joy. They clapped their glowing hands together, their voices ringing with music. They believed the human diplomat was finally learning respect. But the moment did not last. Another alien woman, standing near the leader, suddenly raised her arm in a different gesture. She spread her fingers wide and moved her hand sharply across her chest. To her it was a sign of blessing. But to the humans watching, it looked like a military signal to attack. The soldiers panicked. "She's signaling something," one officer barked. "Shields up," shouted another. Weapons were raised again. Safety switches flicked off. The aliens noticed the sudden aggression. Their smiles vanished. Energy shields flickered around them like waves of light. The tension returned, stronger than before. The diplomat froze in place, his arms still lifted in that awkward greeting. His heart thumped so loud he could hear it echo in his ears. The alien leader frowned deeply. She spoke quickly to her companions, her voice sharp, her glowing eyes now filled with warning. The translator device caught fragments of her words. Danger, mistake. Do not, calm. But the broken English only made things worse. Humans heard danger and do not and panicked even more. Civilians in the crowd screamed and ran for safety. Reporters shouted into their cameras. Around the world, people watching on TV and phones started to argue. Some laughed, saying aliens were ridiculous. Others shouted that aliens were planning to attack Earth. Governments scrambled. Military bases went on high alert. Fighter jets were launched into the sky. The alien women looked around, baffled. What had gone wrong? Why were the humans acting like enemies? They had shown their most sacred greeting. They had even smiled and cheered when the diplomat tried to copy them. And now suddenly the humans looked ready to kill them. The alien leader raised her hands high, trying to calm the humans. Her voice boomed across the park, clear and strong. It was not angry, it was desperate. Her words echoed, sharp and beautiful. Jalin Voraitalek. The translator tried. It buzzed, sparked, and then gave a broken translation. We mean family. The humans froze again. Family? What did that mean? Were they saying they saw humans as family? Or were they warning that their family ships were coming to attack? No one knew. The soldiers did not lower their weapons. The crowd did not laugh. The diplomat's knees shook. He whispered to himself, "This is a nightmare." A simple hello might start a war. The alien leader stepped closer to him, ignoring the raised rifles around her. Her glowing eyes locked on his. She placed her hand over her chest, then slowly stretched it toward him. Her gesture was clear. She wanted him to do the same. The diplomat's hand trembled in the air. His mind raced. If he copied her wrong, Earth might look weak. If he refused, Earth might look hostile. Either way, billions of lives hung in the balance. The crowd went silent. The soldiers held their breath. The alien women leaned forward. The cameras zoomed in so close the diplomat's sweating face filled every screen on Earth. Finally, with the weight of history crushing his shoulders, the diplomat placed his shaking hand over his chest. The alien leader's eyes glowed brighter. She smiled. She stretched her hand out further, waiting for him to complete the greeting. But before he could, a loud alarm blared in the distance. Military trucks rolled toward the park. Sirens screamed. More soldiers poured in, weapons raised. The aliens turned their heads sharply, their shields glowing brighter. They thought it was a sign of attack. The diplomat shouted, "No!" "Wait, stop." But his words were drowned by the roar of engines. The alien leader's smile faded. Her voice rose once more, sharp and commanding. The translator caught only one chilling word this time. War. The crowd screamed. The soldiers aimed. The aliens prepared their shields, and in that instant the misunderstanding grew into something far bigger. The park turned into a storm of noise. Sirens howled, soldiers shouted, civilians screamed. The alien leader's voice still echoed in the humans' ears. War. That single word, broken and sharp, was enough to throw the crowd into panic. People rushed in every direction. Parents pulled their children by the hand, dropping bags, dropping shoes, desperate to escape. Reporters screamed into their cameras, voices shaking but excited. They knew this was history, and danger always made the best news. Some even pushed closer, trying to capture better shots of the aliens, even as the soldiers yelled at them to move back. The alien women stood tall in the middle of the chaos, glowing shields flickering around their bodies like thin blue glass. They whispered to each other in quick, musical tones. Their eyes were full of confusion and fear. They had come to give friendship, to give gifts, to show trust. Instead, every gesture they made was twisted into a sign of war. The diplomat shouted, his voice cracking, "Stop! Everyone stop!" But no one listened. His words were swallowed by the storm. Soldiers formed a line. Rifles aimed at the aliens, fingers twitching on triggers. Tanks rolled closer. Helicopters thundered above the park. The alien leader raised her glowing hands high as if to shield her people. Her voice rang out again, loud and strong, but this time the translator gave no words. Only static. The humans heard nothing but strange alien sounds. That silence was worse than words. Soldiers thought she was calling reinforcements. Civilians thought she was cursing them. Then something unbelievable happened. In the middle of the panicked crowd, a group of teenagers laughed. They had been watching the aliens closely, recording everything on their phones. One of them shouted, "Do the greeting back! Flash them!" His friends cheered, daring him. With a grin, the boy copied the alien greeting in the most exaggerated, ridiculous way possible. The aliens froze. Their glowing eyes widened. Then, to the shock of everyone, they began to laugh. Their laughter was not harsh or cruel. It was like bells ringing, light and musical. They clapped their glowing hands together, delighted that at least one human had understood. The soldiers didn't laugh. They thought the aliens were mocking humanity. "Hold positions," an officer barked. His face was red with anger. "They're toying with us." The diplomat turned to the boy, horrified. "You fool! Stop that!" But it was too late. The crowd had noticed. More people began to laugh nervously. Some even copied the gesture, turning the tense park into a strange mix of panic and comedy. The aliens smiled brighter, believing they were finally being accepted. They relaxed their stance. Their leader lowered her hands slowly, her glowing shield dimming just a little. For a second, the park seemed calmer. Maybe the misunderstanding was ending. But humans always find a way to make things worse. A soldier in the back, young and scared, mistook the alien leader lowering her shield as a hostile move. He shouted, "She's dropping defenses. Fire now before they strike." His words spread like lightning. Soldiers shifted nervously, weapons trembling in their hands. The alien leader heard the sudden roar of human voices. She frowned, confused again. To her, the humans looked like a sea of angry faces ready to attack. she whispered to her companions. Their glowing shields returned at full strength. The blue light shimmered brighter than before. The diplomat's heart nearly stopped. He waved his arms frantically, screaming, "No! No one fire! Do not shoot!" His voice was drowned again by helicopters circling overhead. The news reporters, sensing the world's attention, shouted louder into their cameras. "Aliens prepare for war," one reporter yelled. Another screamed, "First contact collapsing live before your eyes." Around the world, people glued to their screens gasped, argued, prayed. Some laughed nervously at the alien's strange greeting. Others screamed that Earth was doomed. The teenagers in the crowd shouted again, "Flash them more." They love it. They were laughing so hard they could barely stand. The alien women smiled kindly at them, believing the young humans were diplomats of respect. But then, everything turned again. One of the alien women, trying to calm the soldiers, raised both hands and made another gesture. To her it meant, "We surrender. We offer no threat." But to humans it looked exactly like someone drawing a weapon. "Weapon!" a soldier screamed. Dozens of rifles clicked. Tanks pointed their cannons. Helicopters lowered. The alien leader shouted in alarm. Her glowing shield expanded to cover her entire group. The blue energy shimmered and pulsed like lightning. The humans panicked even more. Civilians screamed louder, running for their lives. Children cried. The crowd surged and pressed against fences, desperate to escape the battlefield forming before their eyes. The diplomat fell to his knees, grabbing his head. "This is madness. This is complete madness." The alien leader, her voice breaking, shouted one final phrase. This time the translator picked up two clear words. "Stop. Family." But humans heard the words differently. Some thought it meant, "Stop or our family fleet will arrive." Others thought it meant, "We will protect our family by force." No one agreed. No one understood. The soldiers shouted orders. The aliens tightened their shield. The civilians trampled each other in fear. The cameras kept rolling, and above the chaos in the sky, more alien ships began to descend through the clouds. The humans pointed upward, screaming. The soldiers aimed their weapons toward the new ships. The alien leader turned her head, her glowing eyes wide with shock. She had not called them, but they were coming anyway. The crowd roared with terror. The earth shook as the massive alien ships hovered low, blotting out the sun. The first contact was now out of control. The sky darkened as more alien ships slid down through the clouds. They were huge, silent, and shining like floating mountains of silver. Their shadows fell over the city park, turning daylight into dusk. The humans on the ground screamed louder. Some fell to their knees, praying. Others shouted for the military to strike before it was too late. Soldiers aimed weapons upward, tanks locked on targets, and helicopters circled like angry bees. The diplomat stared at the new ships with horror. His voice cracked as he shouted, "No! No shooting! Don't fire!" But no one listened. The crowd was out of control, the soldiers ready to obey only their generals. The alien women in the park looked up too, shocked. Their leader shouted in her strange musical voice, her silver hair flowing wildly in the wind. She hadn't called those ships. She hadn't wanted them here yet. But the humans didn't know that. To them, it looked like an invasion. The translator device tried to keep up with her words. It buzzed and clicked, giving out fragments. "Not. Attack. Gift. Wait." But the broken English only made things worse. A general in the back shouted, "Prepare to fire warning shots." His soldiers moved into formation. The crowd gasped. Some people tried to run, but the exits were blocked by fences and military vehicles. The park was now a cage of fear. Just then, through the chaos, a young woman pushed forward. She wore glasses, carried a heavy backpack, and her lab coat was half torn from being shoved in the panicked crowd. She was Dr. Eliza Carter, a scientist who had worked for years on alien language signals. Her heart pounded as she pushed through the line of soldiers. "Wait!" she screamed, waving her hands. "Don't fire. I think I can talk to them." The general glared at her. "Who are you?" "Eliza Carter, linguist, cultural analyst," she shouted. "I've studied the fragments of their broadcasts for months. I have a better translator. It might work." The diplomat turned toward her with desperate eyes. "Please try it. Anything is better than this madness." The soldiers hesitated, unsure. The general barked, "Fine, you have one chance. But if they make a wrong move, we fire." Eliza's hands shook as she pulled out a small black device from her bag. It was a custom translator, built in secret, designed to catch tones and gestures as well as words. She had never tested it in the real world, but now she had no choice. She switched it on. A soft green light flickered. The alien leader's voice rang out again, sharp and urgent. For Italic Ahrensha. The old translator buzzed and spat static. But Eliza's device caught the tones, the gestures, the rhythm. It translated clearly. Do not fight. These ships carry gifts. The humans froze. For the first time, the words made sense. Soldiers lowered their weapons slightly, confused. Reporters gasped into their cameras. The diplomat's eyes widened with hope. But not everyone believed. The general narrowed his eyes. Gifts? Or weapons disguised as gifts? The alien leader, seeing that her words were finally understood, lowered her glowing shield slightly. She stretched her hand out again, palm open, showing peace. The alien women behind her followed, their shields dimming. The humans gasped. To them, it looked like surrender or maybe a trick. The general barked, Hold positions! They're testing us. His voice shook with anger, but also fear. Eliza stepped closer, holding her translator. She spoke slowly, carefully, trying to copy the alien tone. We do not want war, she said. Her voice was shaky, her accent clumsy, but the aliens turned their glowing eyes toward her. The alien leader tilted her head. Then, to everyone's shock, she smiled. She responded in her musical voice. Eliza's device caught it perfectly. You try to speak our tongue. This is respect. The aliens clapped their hands, laughter like bells filling the air. They were delighted. For the first time, they felt understood. But the humans didn't all share the joy. Some soldiers muttered that it was an act. Some civilians shouted, don't trust them. The fear was still heavy. The alien leader raised her hand and gave another gesture, pressing her palm to her heart, then lifting it upward. Eliza's device translated, We bring family treasures. We share. The humans looked up nervously at the giant ships hovering above. Their cargo doors began to open with a deep metallic groan. Bright light spilled out like dawn breaking through night. The crowd gasped. Soldiers raised weapons again. The general shouted, Weapons ready! The diplomat screamed, No, wait! Eliza's translator caught the alien words clearly this time. The leader's voice echoed, Behold our gift of peace. The humans stared upward. From the ship's massive containers floated down, glowing with strange symbols. They were huge, big enough to hold tanks or bombs. The humans panicked again. They're dropping weapons, someone shouted. Civilians screamed. Soldiers aimed. Tanks prepared to fire. Eliza's voice cracked as she screamed into her device, No. They said gifts, not weapons. But the glowing containers hit the ground with heavy thuds shaking the park. Dust rose. The sound was like thunder. The soldiers shouted in panic. Fingers curled around triggers. The aliens raised their shields again, scared. The diplomat grabbed Eliza's arm. His voice shook. Tell me they didn't just start a war. Eliza swallowed, staring at the glowing containers. I don't know yet. The crowd went silent as the first container slowly began to open. The entire park shook as the giant alien containers landed with a deep metallic crash. Dust clouds rolled across the grass. Civilians covered their faces, coughing and crying. Soldiers raised their weapons higher, ready to fire at the slightest threat. The diplomat's face was pale. Eliza's hands trembled on her translator device. The glowing containers pulsed with strange blue light. Alien symbols crawled across their surfaces, shifting like living writing. They looked more alive than metal. Humans stared in horror. To them, it was the image of a trap, bombs disguised as gifts. The alien women, however, smiled proudly. They spread their hands wide as if showing off a great treasure. Their leader's voice rang out, full of pride. For you, family. Eliza's translator caught the words clearly. They say it is for us, she whispered. They call it a gift, something to make us family. The general didn't believe it. His jaw tightened. Or something to wipe us out. Soldiers, hold your fire but prepare to shoot the moment those crates open. The crowd screamed louder. Some shouted for war. Others begged for peace. Reporters shouted into cameras, their voices sharp with excitement. Around the world, billions of people watched the live broadcast with their hands on their mouths. The alien leader raised her glowing hands. She gave a signal. The first container hissed. Steam poured from the edges. The walls of the crate unfolded slowly like giant petals of a metal flower. Steady. The general shouted. Tanks hummed. Helicopters lowered. Rifles aimed at the heart of the container. The crowd fell into silence. Every eye was fixed on the glowing box. Then, inside was not a weapon, not a bomb, not a machine of war. It was a mountain of glowing crystals. Blue, green, and purple light spilled out like rivers of stars. The gems sparkled brighter than diamonds. They filled the air with soft hums like gentle music. The crystals pulsed with life, and the humans felt their skin tingle just by looking at them. The alien women clapped their hands, laughing like bells. To them, it was a perfect gift, energy stones that could power human cities for centuries. But the humans didn't know that. The crowd gasped. Some shouted, "Radiation." Others screamed, "Poison." A woman cried out, "They're trying to curse us." The soldiers tightened their grip. The general barked, "If the radiation scanner rises, we destroy it all." Eliza's heart raced. She raised her translator and shouted at the alien leader, "What are these? What do they do?" The alien leader smiled warmly. Her glowing eyes softened. She placed a hand over her chest and whispered, her voice like music. The translator caught the words, "Power of life. Endless light. We give to you." Eliza turned to the humans. "They're gifts of energy. They want to share their power with us." But the general sneered. "Or they want to make us depend on them. To control us," he raised his arm. "All units," the diplomat screamed, "stop. Please, you'll ruin everything." The alien women noticed the soldiers raising their weapons again. Their smiles faded. Their glowing shields flickered to life. They whispered nervously to one another. To them, it looked like humans were rejecting the most sacred gift of their people. The crowd panicked again. Children cried. Civilians pushed against fences. The chaos was worse than before. Suddenly, one alien woman stepped forward, eager to prove the gift was safe. She lifted a glowing crystal in her hands. It pulsed like a beating heart. She held it high for all to see, smiling with pride. The soldiers misread it. "She's holding a weapon," one shouted. "Fire! Guns cocked!" Fingers twitched. The alien leader screamed in her musical voice. Her shield expanded, glowing brighter. The translator spat out one broken word. "Protect." The general barked, "Open fire!" The soldiers' rifles shook in their hands. Tanks hummed louder. The diplomat fell to his knees begging. Eliza screamed until her throat burned. The air itself felt heavy. The world seemed to hold its breath, and then the alien woman holding the crystal pressed it against her chest. The stone pulsed with light. Suddenly her glowing shield vanished. She stood defenseless, smiling softly at the humans. She spread her arms wide as if to say, "Look, no harm. Trust me." The crowd gasped. The soldiers froze, unsure. The diplomat's eyes filled with tears. Eliza whispered, "She's showing trust. She's risking her life to prove the gift is real." But the general wasn't moved. His voice cracked with fury. "It's a trick. They want us to lower our guard." "Fire," I said. The soldiers trembled. Some obeyed orders. Fingers tightened. And then the translator, glitching and sparking, caught one final phrase from the alien leader. Her voice was strong, desperate and sharp. "If you shoot, we will defend our family." The humans froze. The words cut through the park like thunder. Guns were raised. Crystals glowed. Shields hummed. And above them, more alien ships began to open their cargo bays, light pouring out like stars. The first contact was now one heartbeat away from full war. The park was frozen in time. Soldiers stood with weapons raised. Tanks aimed at the glowing alien crates, helicopters circling like hawks. The alien women shimmered inside their blue shields, their glowing eyes hard with warning. Civilians crouched low, praying, crying, whispering that the end of the world had arrived. The alien leader's last words still echoed through the translator. "If you shoot, we will defend our family." That single sentence had pushed both sides to the very edge. The general's arm was raised high. "Fire!" he began. But before the order could finish, the diplomat threw himself forward and screamed, "Wait! Please!" His voice cracked, desperate, but it was drowned by the roar of helicopters. No one was listening. And then, something unbelievable happened. From the middle of the terrified crowd, a man in a dirty construction uniform pushed forward. His helmet was cracked, his boots muddy, his hands still covered in cement dust. His name was Daniel Ortiz, an ordinary worker who had been nearby when the ships arrived. He wasn't a soldier or a scientist or a diplomat. He was just a man who built roads, but he had been watching closely. He had seen the aliens laugh when the teenagers copied their strange greeting. He had seen the alien woman risk her life by lowering her shield, and in that moment he realized something no one else dared to try. If the aliens wanted a greeting, then maybe, just maybe, a human needed to answer them. "Get back," a soldier shouted, grabbing at him. But Daniel shoved forward, slipping past the line. His heart pounded. His legs shook. Every step felt heavier than stone. The alien women noticed him. Their glowing eyes turned sharp, their shields pulsing brighter. Soldiers aimed their weapons at him, afraid he was making things worse. Reporters screamed into their microphones. "A civilian is moving forward." "What is he doing?" Daniel ignored them all. He walked into the no man's land between the humans and aliens, his chest tight, his throat dry. He raised his hand slowly, not to fight, not to threaten, but to copy the alien gesture he had seen from the start. The crowd gasped. Soldiers shouted. The general roared, "Stop that man!" But it was too late. Daniel pressed his dirty hand against his chest, just like the alien leader had done. Then, with shaky courage, he lifted his arm outward in a slow, respectful motion. And finally, blushing, sweating, terrified, he mimicked the flashing gesture that had caused all the chaos in the first place. The world froze. Billions of people watched live as one human dared to copy the aliens completely. The alien leader's glowing eyes widened. Then slowly she lowered her own hand, mirroring him. Her silver hair shimmered in the sunlight. She smiled, soft and warm, and whispered something musical. Eliza's translator clicked and hummed. Then it spoke the words clearly. At last, "You answer." The aliens clapped their glowing hands, laughter like bells ringing across the park. Their shields flickered and dimmed, showing trust. One of them even bowed slightly toward Daniel as if honoring him. The crowd gasped. Civilians whispered in shock. Reporters shouted into their microphones. "One man has done it." He copied their greeting. But not everyone was pleased. The general's face turned red. "This is madness," he roared. "He's embarrassing our entire species." He raised his arm again. "Soldiers, hold your aim." Yet the soldiers hesitated. They saw the aliens lowering shields, saw the joy in their glowing faces. For the first time since the ships arrived, it didn't look like war. Daniel stood tall, though his knees shook. He smiled weakly, his heart racing like a drum. "See," he whispered, mostly to himself. They just wanted respect. The alien leader stepped closer, stopping only a few feet away. Her glowing eyes shimmered with pride. She pressed her hand against her chest, then slowly extended it toward Daniel. The translator buzzed. "You are brave. You are family." The crowd gasped again. Civilians cheered nervously. Some even began copying the greeting, laughing awkwardly but joining in. The mood began to shift from terror to something else, something fragile but hopeful. But just as peace seemed possible, the sky rumbled again. The giant alien ships above opened their cargo bays wider. More glowing containers began to descend, shaking the earth with their weight. The humans panicked once more. Civilians screamed. Soldiers raised weapons. The general barked, "Enough! This is invasion. Fire at will." "No," Daniel shouted. He spread his arms wide, standing in front of the aliens, blocking the line of fire. "Don't shoot!" The diplomat joined him, trembling but brave. "General, if you fire now, you'll start a war humanity can't survive." Eliza held up her translator, her voice breaking. "They're still saying gifts. They want to share, not destroy." The general's eyes blazed with fury. His voice shook. "And if you're wrong, if those crates hold weapons, then we'll be wiped out like children." The soldiers froze, torn between orders and what they saw. The alien leader lowered her head, sadness in her glowing eyes. She whispered softly, and the translator caught her words. "We come with open hearts. Why do you answer with fear?" The crowd went silent. The world held its breath. Daniel's voice cracked as he shouted, "Because we're human. We're scared, but we're trying." His voice carried across the park. "Please, give us a chance." The alien leader studied him for a long, heavy moment. Then she turned to the glowing containers as they landed with booming thuds. Her hand hovered over a control symbol. The humans tensed, weapons aimed, hearts raced. She pressed her palm down. The containers began to open, and the truth of the aliens' gifts was about to be revealed. The park shook again as the alien containers opened with slow, heavy groans. Metal petals unfolded like blooming flowers. Light spilled out so bright that people shielded their eyes. Soldiers aimed rifles tighter, fingers trembling on triggers. Civilians clung to fences, whispering prayers. Reporters shouted into cameras, their voices shaking. The world held its breath. Everyone waited to see what was inside. Weapons? Bombs? Poison? The first container opened fully. Inside was not death. It was life. Piles of glowing crystals shimmered in every color: blue, green, gold, and red. They pulsed like beating hearts, lighting the ground with soft waves of energy. Each crystal hummed gently like the sound of distant singing. The alien leader stepped forward, smiling with pride. She lifted one crystal high. Her glowing eyes softened. She pressed it to her chest, then stretched it outward toward the humans. Eliza's translator clicked, hummed, and gave the words. Endless energy. Clean. Pure. We gift it to you. Your family, the crowd gasped. Civilians stared in wonder. Some dropped to their knees, crying with relief. Reporters screamed into cameras. They're giving us power. Not weapons, not war, power. But not everyone believed. The general's face stayed cold. His voice cracked like thunder. It's a trick. No gift comes without chains. They want us weak, dependent. He raised his arm again. Soldiers, fire now before they enslave us. Soldiers trembled. Tanks rumbled. Helicopters circled low. Daniel, the construction worker who had dared to copy their greeting, stood tall between the two sides. His chest rose and fell fast, but his eyes were firm. He shouted, his voice breaking. No! Look at them! They're not attacking! They're giving. The diplomat backed him up, his old voice steady despite his shaking knees. General, if you shoot, history will curse us forever. If we accept, humanity will rise higher than ever before. Which do you want written in the books of tomorrow? The general's jaw tightened. His arm stayed raised. His soldiers waited, trapped between trust and fear. Then the alien leader did something no one expected. She lowered her glowing shield completely. The blue light vanished. She stood bare, defenseless, crystal still glowing in her hands. Her voice rang out across the park. The translator spoke. I give my life. I show trust. If you shoot me, then we are enemies. If you take this crystal, then we are family. The world froze. Billions watched live, holding their breath. Soldiers' fingers hovered on triggers. Civilians clutched each other, eyes wide, and then Daniel moved. His boots crunched on the grass as he stepped forward. Every eye followed him. His dirty hands shook, but he kept walking until he stood only inches from the alien leader. She held the glowing crystal out. He swallowed hard. Then slowly he reached out and took it. The crowd gasped. The world gasped. The crystal pulsed warmly in his hands. Instead of poison, it hummed gently, making his skin glow faintly with soft blue light. It wasn't death. It was life. It was power, the translator whispered. He accepts. Humanity accepts. The alien women clapped, their laughter like bells. Their eyes glowed brighter. They bowed toward Daniel, honoring him. The crowd erupted. Civilians cheered, clapping, crying with joy. Reporters shouted, Peace! Peace has been made. Soldiers lowered their weapons, uncertain but relieved. The general's arm dropped at last. His face was dark with anger, but even he could not deny what had just happened. One ordinary man had saved Earth with a foolish, brave act. The alien leader touched her chest and smiled. The translator gave the words, Brave human. You saved your world. We honor you. Daniel laughed nervously, still holding the glowing crystal. I just copied a hello, he muttered. The crowd cheered louder. Civilians copied the alien greeting, laughing through tears. Even some soldiers joined, chuckling awkwardly. For the first time since the ships arrived, Earth and the aliens laughed together. But then the alien leader's glowing eyes twinkled with mischief. She raised her voice one more time, her silver hair shining like fire. The translator spoke her final words. This was only our first greeting. We have many more, stranger ones. The crowd went silent. People blinked. Soldiers looked at each other nervously. The alien women smiled wide, their glowing faces full of joy. One of them stepped forward and demonstrated another greeting. It was even stranger, part dance, part hop, part sound like a hiccup. The humans stared for a second. And then, slowly, Daniel copied it. Awkward, clumsy, ridiculous. The crowd burst into laughter. The aliens cheered like children, and just like that, war faded into laughter. The first contact had gone wrong in every possible way, but somehow, against all odds, humanity had won. Not with weapons, not with fear, but with courage, foolishness, and a little bit of humor. As the sun broke through the clouds, the alien leader whispered one last time. The translator spoke clearly. Humanity, family forever, and the world cheered.